Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Ali and let's talk about finance. In today's video, we're going to be watching finance TikTok videos. I'm going to be going over some of the good things, some of the bad things, some things that are true, some things that are not true, and this is all coming from a certified financial planner. So let's get started.
You double your money at 4% per year in 18 years. So the first thing is to start somewhere. Even if you can only save a bit of money, but start the savings habit early in life. So if you earn $2,000, let's say in Singapore, if you can save 10% of it, $200, that is very good. If you're able to save that $200, you can invest that $200. And that $200, if you invest and you earn, let's say, a rate of return of 4% per year, in 18 years, that $200 will become $400. So every time you save, you have the possibility of doubling your money. So you'll be surprised by the power of, we call it compounding. So you start saving a small amount, then as you get a promotion in your job, you get more pay, then you can save more. But start, the earlier the better.
So in this video, what he was referring to in terms of taking 18 years to double your money if you got a rate of return of 4%, he's referring to the rule of 72. The rule of 72 tells you how long it'll take for you to double your money based on the rate of return. It's a very simple calculation. You can do it yourself. All you have to do is take 72 and divide it by the rate of return. And that will give you the number of years that it'll take for you to double your money. So for example, in this situation, if you take 72 divided by 4%, then you will get that it will take 18 years for you to double your money. In the same way, if you were to take 72 and divide it by a 10% rate of return, then it will take you just a little bit over 10 years for you to double your money. This is why investing your money early rather than later is a good thing, because at the end of the day, you have more time when you're younger. Even if you are starting off slow, like he said, if you're making $2,000 and you put away $200, that's better than putting nothing. And slowly that money will start to compound and it will start to grow and eventually it will double. And once it doubles, if you continue investing, it'll double again and double again and double again.
Investing is even easier than brushing your teeth because you set it up automatically. The investment fund will automatically draw from your checking account and it will pull in $100, $500, $1,000, whatever your number is. And so you're not going to log in for 3, 4, 5 months. You're going to log in a few months later. You're going to be like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that all this money is in here. When you add that plus compounding over many years, that is how real wealth is created. So I don't want anyone to think that you have to be rich in order to start investing. One of the ways you get rich is by investing.
So I actually really like this video because as a professional who's worked in the financial industry, one of the easiest things that we can do to help somebody grow their money is just getting them to invest consistently. And a lot of times the best way to do that is to actually set up automatic contributions into your investment account, whether it's a tax-free savings account, a registered retirement savings plan, a first home savings account. It's something that adds up over time and you won't even realize how much money you're putting in there if you're doing it automatically. The best way to set it up properly is every time you get paid, that's when there should be a contribution that's made. So say for example, you get paid every other Friday, you should be setting up your contributions where every other Friday, a certain portion of that paycheck goes right into your investment account and put that into the investment and let it grow over time. Like he said, 3, 4, 5 months down the line, you're gonna be surprised with how much money you have in that account. And this is because it's one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't see that money in your bank account, then you a lot of times forget that you have that money. And this is great because at the end of the day, you wanna simplify the entire process of investing and growing your wealth.
If you don't have financial literacy, your ass will go broke no matter how much money you make. This is why we see professional athletes, boxers, football players, basketball players, baseball. It doesn't matter who, UFC fighters. They will get $15, $20 million purses. Like Holyfield right now lives in an apartment. Evander fucking Holyfield lives in an apartment in Philadelphia and is barely getting by.
This is a great video to really get you to understand that it doesn't matter how much money you're you're making, you can invest. It's one of those things. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you save or how much money you keep at the end of the day. When you hear about these professional athletes making millions of dollars a year, a lot of them are paycheck to paycheck, just like an individual who might be making $50,000 a year or $100,000 a year. I see it all the time. Being in the finance industry, you see people coming to you all the time, making $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And it's because what happens is as they make more money, they end up spending more money and they're still living paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck to paycheck for someone might be, okay, you're making $2,000 every paycheck and you're spending $2,000 a paycheck. There are other people that are making tens of thousands of dollars a paycheck and they're spending tens of thousands of dollars. It really is about the amount of money you keep, not about the amount of money that you make. Of course, if you have some really good habits, the more money you make, the more opportunities you have to save and grow your investments. But if you don't have good habits, it doesn't matter if you're making $50,000 a year, $500,000 a year, or $5 million a year. You're still going to end up being broke because you're spending all of the money that you're making and you're not investing it.
If you're in your 30s and you want to be rich, do these 3 things. Number 1, get a budget. You've got to literally figure out within a real budget how to save at least 20% of the money that you're making that you can put into savings. Number 2, I want you to open up a whole life insurance bank account. This is early cash out, as in I can make regular deposits on the 20% that I'm savings, and at any time I can early withdraw it so that I can do number 3. That money that you set aside, buy a business that already exists, start some type of side hustle, or buy a piece of real estate. All of these things are assets that produce passive income, active income, and you need them. Now, by the way, if you want to know one of the coolest ways of making money right now that takes very little, like almost none, then join me on March 14th. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live during this emergency meeting, and I'm going to share with you how to use artificial intelligence, work from home with the internet, and crush it financially. I'll see you there.
So this video actually started off pretty good by telling people that you need to follow a budget. And I agree, you do need to follow a budget, whether that is something that is set in stone or something that you have where you have an understanding of, okay, I'm gonna put this much off to the side for savings and I'm gonna invest this much. This is how much I'm gonna spend on all of these expenses. At the end of the day, having a budget is a good thing. Now, the other 2 things. First of all, there's no such thing as a whole life bank account. A whole life insurance policy and a bank account are 2 very different things. He's trying to make it seem like you can put money into a whole life insurance policy and use the cash value and pull that money out. Now, that is something you can do. However, a whole life insurance policy should not be used as a way for you to save money. At the end of the day, you're better off putting money into a bank account if you know that you want to access that money. A whole life insurance policy can be used for some very complicated situations. So people that might have multiple businesses, a lot of real estate, or people who might have a trust. Also, when he's talking about pulling money out of the whole life policy, you have to keep this in mind. First of all, it takes a long time for that money to grow in a whole life policy. It doesn't make sense for you to buy a whole life policy just so then you could pull money out, so then you could invest it into a business or invest it into real estate. Also, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but at the very end, he's trying to sell you a course. Anybody who's on TikTok or any sort of social media that's trying to sell you a course, that should automatically be a red flag that the advice that they're giving is not good advice, because at the end of the day, they are making money off of selling you this course.
Its high current dividend yield of 12.87%. This impressive yield means that for every $100 you invest, you can expect to earn $12.87 annually in dividends, which is significantly higher than many other dividend stocks. Additionally, Arbor Realty has a dividend growth rate of 12.93%, indicating that it has been consistently increasing its dividend payouts. In terms of share price performance, Arbor Realty has an average share price appreciation of 7.15%. While this is modest, it still provides a potential for capital gains alongside the substantial dividend income. ABR's combination of a high dividend yield, steady dividend growth, and focused investment strategy makes it a compelling choice for dividend investors.
So in this video, they're using one example of investing into a real estate company or a REIT. The dividends that they're providing seem very high. At the end of the day, you're like, oh, you know what? They're giving a 12% dividend. That's an automatic 12% return if I just leave the money invested. Now, there's a couple of things though to keep in mind when it comes to dividend stocks, and especially with REITs. So first things first, dividends are not guaranteed. And by understanding that dividends are not guaranteed, that means that can change over time. The company can decide to cut their dividends. So that means they're not going to provide as much. So all of a sudden it can go from 12% to 6%, 5%, 4%. It really doesn't matter. Or they can decide to not distribute it at all. Now, another thing to also keep in mind is there's a reason for why sometimes the dividend yield is very high. One, the company sometimes is trying to make up for a lackluster performance where they may not actually be making money. They may not actually be profitable, whether it's over a quarter, over a couple quarters, maybe over a year or a couple of years. A lot of times there's more to it than meets the eye. I saw an investment back in 2020 where the dividend yield was 21%. And I looked into the financials and I saw the company hasn't made money in multiple years. And it's one of those things where this is their way of trying to attract investors, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. You could be taking on a lot more risk by investing into these dividend stocks, especially the ones with the high dividend, if you don't fully understand why the dividend is where it's at and what the company actually does or how everything has been performing over the last couple of years. One thing to understand is not all dividends are equal. Some dividends will include things like capital gains. Some will include interest. Sometimes they give you something called return of capital. Return of capital is essentially just giving you your money back. So what it actually ends up happening is your cost for the investment starts to go down as you're receiving these dividends. And what ends up happening is if you have that money sitting in a taxable investment account, then when you go to sell that investment, your capital gains on that investment will actually be a lot higher because some of the dividends that you received was return of capital. And you also have to understand as well, for my viewers here in Canada, you have to understand that if you're receiving a dividend from a US company, that is still subject to US dividend tax, even if it is sitting in a tax sheltered account, like a tax-free savings account. So you have to understand the advantages and disadvantages of investing in dividends, especially when you're dealing with dividends for companies that are not based in Canada. So there you have it, guys. Those are some finance TikTok videos, which I think were good. Some of them were not so good. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you found this video helpful, leave a like and share it with your friends and family, as everyone should learn this information and know this information. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below and I'm more than happy to answer those questions. Also, if there are any topics that you'd like me to go over in a future video, leave them in the comments down below and I'll make those videos in the future for you guys. As always, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one.